Thanks, Ron. Again, I'm Ediz Ertekin, company Satori. I'm a veteran in the industry, so I come from two companies, Sybase and then Informatica. That was about 30 and 25 years ago. I was a field engineer, I was a product specialist, but I built all my life decision support applications. We call data marts, operational data stores, data warehouses. Basically, I focused on data, get into all details of building these solutions, get into all details of justifying ROI. And at the end, with that ROI, in each case, figuring out how to make that data available to right audiences. Because unless you basically figure that out, you sit on a gold mine. And data, especially in the financial services sector, from what I've seen, bloodline, right? There's no way, no other explanation. If it gets into wrong hands, it could be quite costly. So that's why I call the session Right Data to the Right Audience. We are a data security company with a SaaS solution, cybersecurity domain company originating in Israel, and unique innovation is around enabling flow of data to diverse audiences without compromising security and compliance. So with that said, if you're dealing with data, I'm sure this will make a lot of sense when you read this, the phone call you don't want to get, okay? A breach, a leak, someone running a query, gaining access, anything basically that's going to get you on that front page and create a whole bunch of headaches. So with that said, the goal is to prevent that call more than anything else. We've worked in the past several years with different types of customers, those who are growing really fast. They outgrew their projections, and in that equation, compliance was left behind, security was left behind. What does it mean? Everybody can come in and run a query, accessing customer names, emails, basically, very quickly. Or on the other hand, more established companies who built the infrastructure, bigger companies, more established names, and I've worked with all of them, by the way, JP Morgan's and Barclays or Bank of America's and army of people trying to protect the data, making sure that data doesn't get into wrong hands. So with that said, this is not comprehensive, I have to highlight, but in the financial services, the different divisions, different operations I engage with, different data elements that needs to be analyzed, whether it's basically focused on forecasting, or customer-focused marketing, or automating tasks, or analyzing what's going on, analyzing the risk. Well, at the end, you create a lot of data, you generate a lot of data, and then you invest a lot of money to make that data available to diverse audiences, make copies of that data, diverse audiences ranging from analysts to machine learning to customer service and support, customer service and support to engineering. When that data is replicated, copied, the risk factor is increasing as well. And what we observed, I also observed this, by the way, in the past 30 years, not in this company only. I joined this company because I grew up in the space and I learned in the space. There are several metrics that are competing. If you're operating these data platforms, if you're making the investment into data infrastructure, the BI tools, the Tableaus and Lookers and Power BIs or Snowflakes or Redshift, Synapses, Databricks, well, on one side, you're most likely measured on time to access, time to exploration, time to analysis. Well, that's all great. In an ideal world, you can bring it from days to minutes and then to zero. You can give access to everyone, but that's not possible. Why? There is a countermeasure, principles of least privileged access, right? Driven by laws, driven by compliance requirements, driven by other security requirements. So at the end, constant tug of war. You make data available, it doesn't get into wrong hands. You make that data available quickly so you can continue innovating, you can continue analyzing the risk. What is it worth if you're analyzing the risk next day, if the data is not in the right hands, if someone needs to run a quick analysis, if they if someone needs to basically provide certain level of visibility. So with that said, when we look at market research, I mean, over 30% of data leaders indicate that inadequate data security and access controls are preventing them from getting data into right hands, thus slowing down innovation, impacting productivity, and by solving the problem manually, creating a lot of risk. So, of course, in response, different things happen in the market over the past couple of decades, right? If you look at another Gartner research, well, database activity monitoring in late 2000s and database security solutions, posture analysis solutions, DAG solutions, encryption solutions. But the key point I like to make here, there is a big amalgamation, convergence of technologies. I'm sure most of you implemented different tools to protect the data, but the convergence idea is more than anything else to have centralized control plane to reduce friction between security, compliance, privacy, and data teams, and enabling data teams to allow to flow the data to the right audiences with reduced risk, in a compliant fashion, and then with higher productivity. So, all right, we talked about the problem statement. Now, let's spend a couple of minutes what we do to make an impact. We represent that converged security, and our focus is access control and management at a very high level. And we do that basically simply by protecting point of access. So what that means, you don't have to change user experience. You don't have to change data infrastructure. And I'd like you to underline, because this is a big deal. A lot of technologies, a lot of things that are done are tangled up with data stores. That's basically increasing the burden, increasing the risk. When a simple question comes up, who has access to my sensitive data? Where is that sensitive data? What are they doing with it? There's no easy answer. It turns into lengthy projects. So protecting point of access, what we are able to do, we have the maximum amount of context. Who's coming in? What are they requesting? Where are they going? We have the maximum amount of control. Well, we can apply the control policies, we can apply masking, we can apply obfuscation to prevent those who are not supposed to access the data from accessing the data. And with decoupling these controls and basically centralizing governance, now you have central point that provides visibility to these stakeholders continuously, not as a project. And now you don't have to plan, you don't have to create replicas, you don't have to create additional schemas. And if I look at the solution, if I were to peel the onion to the next level, I mean, again, data security in our description, all the way from assessing the posture to analyzing the permissions. What is it in the current state, in order to be able to define what it should be very quickly. So defining those policies, RBACs, ABACs. But the key point, leveraging AI and automation, because data is attributes. You have your roles, so taking advantage of the attributes, taking advantage of identity, and then automating access. So if I were to peel the onion one more layer, well, one dimension is posture manager. And by the way, we provide the integrations. If you have a data catalog, if you have Colibras, Alations, no problem. But for those where it's not in place, the goal here is basically providing you, first of all, what everything looks like. And by the way, you can tell me, hey, we have Azure, we have Amazon, we have no clue about databases and permissions. Give me access. We can start basically with that posture analysis, giving you instant visibility into permissions and providing you insight who has access to what. Providing you visibility into misconfigurations, providing you visibility into best practices, and from there, a continuous audit. Who's accessing what they're accessing at any given point in time, basically. Again, step one, posture manager piece. Step two, access manager. The core idea here is basically allowing you to define these access policies, RBACs, ABACs. In other words, taking advantage of the attributes of data, taking advantage of identity, and basically automating how they map, how they link together in order to determine, hey, Ron has access to see last 4 digits of social security. I may not, because I don't need it for my analysis, but automating that instead of pouring basically resources. And then finally, data portal. When you enter a restaurant, when you enter an entity, you are typically offered with a menu, with a list of services. This is the core idea. Anything that's registered and identified, depending on the persona, now it's available through the data portal. In fact, it becomes the new entry point. If it's a new employee, if it's a changing role, they can instantly go and see, first of all, what may be available to them, which data sets, which fields, to what level, and they can request access. Some of that access may be automated. Some of that access may necessitate a workflow with the data stewardship, but the core idea is automation. So we're living in this age with AI and everything. No need to basically manually give permissions to anyone anymore, because taking advantage of technology, automation is enabling you to reduce the risk drastically, but more importantly, dramatically accelerate availability of the data. I mean, our customer, well, simple, Diedrich, I've worked with him all the way from the beginning. A couple of years ago, they were growing very fast, and their challenge was everyone accessing any data they need. Of course, compliance team basically blocked instantly. Users said, oh, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. So in his case, taking advantage of Redshift. By the way, it could be Redshift, it could be Snowflake, it could be Snaps, or it could be multiple. The beauty, once you define the controls, fire and forget, whether it's one of them, 2 of them, 3 of them, or 5 of them, same controls will be applicable. Without changing user experience, he was able to implement Satori within a matter of weeks. So speed is the key point here, getting data available to someone, and also deployment speed. But at the end, such automation enabled him to provide right level of access to right level of audiences, but without basically pouring data engineering resources to manage manual permissions. So with that said, I'd like to maybe wrap up. I mean, again, feature functionality, that's all great, but the way we architected the solution, the core idea is basically accelerating time to value. And the time to value by speeding up availability of the data, but more importantly, accelerating also data projects, data initiatives to make that data available to different audiences. And from an ROI perspective, we have seen now 6 to 10-fold increase very quickly on your business intelligence, data warehouse investment, because now you're able to take full advantage of those data assets. They are not tucked in. They are not basically stuck in that data store. Now you can enable flow of data, and you can track, you can audit, you can maintain continuous visibility. So when compliance, security, privacy teams raise the red flag, the visibility is instantly there. When they define guardrails, the guardrails can be immediately applied. So I'll stop. Thank you very much, everyone. And what we are saying, in 2023, there shouldn't be a manual grant of access to any data set anymore.